Hello my friends, this is FC7 and today I'm continuing my series on helpful clickies, although as you can see on the screen, I am not talking about a clicky today, but rather an item. An item that is actually a weapon, and that weapon is the Sap Encrusted branch. Now using this weapon creates something called a proc. And a proc is simply a spell that goes off every time your character swings the weapon, which isn't abnormal, but instead of you casting the spell, it is the weapon. As you can see on the screen, the one thing unique about this weapon is the classes that can use it. Now, clerics do not have a reliable way to cast a snare, so this item is extremely helpful. And I believe the only other class on that list is Monk that cannot use, or I should say cannot cast Snare by themselves. Alright, so to recap, if you have a Cleric, they cannot cast the Snare spell. There's no way for them to do it. So what you're going to need to do is get this weapon so you can have it proc, and the weapon drops from this NPC, very famous one, called Tunar in the Plane of Growth. It is a rare drop, and it is even harder to find Tunar up because everybody on your server probably has these old mobs on timers. Alright, so this time I wasn't lucky enough to get it to drop, but I have been lucky enough to get it to drop in the past, which was about 10 or 15 years ago. I saw Tunar up and some guildmates helped me at the time. So I may be seeing Tunar up maybe 3 or 4 times in my 20 years of playing. So what I'm going to do is just show you something I used to do with my Cleric when I was around level 85. I had this crazy idea that I wanted to solo with my Cleric. And they actually get some pretty good damage over time spells. And I was toying with the idea of creating a Cleric that aggro kites. So I used to come here in Lupin Plains, this area, this undead area right next to the Hills of Shade. And I'd equip my branch. So again, this was just brainstorming ideas. Normally you would just use this item if you were in a pickup group and you had no person that can snare in that group. So you can just take out your Sap Encrusted branch as a Cleric, and in an emergency, we used to call it like ghetto procs or a ghetto snare. I don't know if they still do that or not. But this makes the perfect ghetto snare item if you're in a pickup group. So back when I was toying with this idea, it was around 2007 or 8, and Clerics were pretty good soloers. I used to visit a lot of the Cleric forums at the time, and just researching how to solo was time consuming. This is not the way to do it. I'm just making that clear. It was okay. I could maybe solo 2 or 3, but just using the reverse damage shield method was a lot better. It went a lot faster. So I would pull these skeletons and just wait till the snare procced, which you can tell it does when you see the, I guess, dust erupting from the ground. It looks like I got 3 right now, but I'm level 105, so I can handle these guys. So now you have a snare for a class that cannot snare. So then I would just come down the hill and cast my damage over time spells on the skeletons. And if they hit me, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you can just use your promise spell and heal yourself, or your quick spells. I imagine monks are the same way. Like I said, that's the only other class that I recognized doesn't have a snare, unless they changed something in the last few years. So that is the Sap Encrusted branch. And it's a really long snare, so it's a really great item. Like, it's a 14-minute snare. Not even my high-level necro has a snare that has a duration like that. Not only is the duration outstanding, but the resist debuff is outstanding as well. This item is amazing. It's very hard for the mobs to resist, so you pretty much land a snare each time you try to use it.